This is going to be really interesting because Thrawn's biggest weapon is his brain. He's a mastermind. This is a mastermind that will rewire the way that Ezra thinks. He's going to rewire his manipulation. He's going to break down everything and then restructure him in a way that fits and suits Thrawn, which is actually kind of what I think's happened to Baylan Skoll a little bit. It's like he just believes that he's the best person for the job. I think the longer he's spent with Thrawn,
the more you can bend to his way of thinking.
Yep.
Which is very powerful.
Yep.
Welcome back to the Breakroom. It's me, Tommy B, and joining me today are the illustrious, cut-colored, classy Maude Garrett and the magnanimous, marvelous, musical Kim Horcher.
I don't see.
As they say.
Episode 5 really was a trip, wasn't
She's
it?
right. It was a trip. Thanks, Maude.
You're welcome.
Wow, you can read better than I. Through Ahsoka's memories, and now setting us off on another trip. Trip out, man. Today we're going to discuss questions we have after the episode and where the series might go from here. And there's so many places it might go. Hyperspace, time, the future, the past, and of course, as a proud member of SAG and a proud ally of the WGA who continues to not allow me in despite my multiple spec scripts for the show The Single Guy, starring Jonathan Silverman. We stand by the unions. We picket. We hate those greedy studios. And we won't be doing anything to promote these shows, but we will react and editorialize, and I understand that by nature that is slightly promoting it, and I get the hypocrisy of that. But the unions have told us that this is the okay way to cover it. So until they say, stop, Thomas, you must, we're going to keep going, okay? All right. Now, let's talk about reactions. Of course, if you haven't watched our fabulous WikiLeaks episodes, or as I call the little one we did last night, an Ewok leak, little guy. Check it out. You can hear Brandon and I's dulcet tones and immediate post-episode thoughts. But I want to hear from you two. Maude, Kim, what the heck did you think of this episode?
We liked it.
We did?
Yeah.
I thought, okay.
Yeah.
I liked it for sure.
I have a gripe that I will bring up later, but this was a fantastic episode.
Okay.
I think it was the best by far. Overall, with the series, it's been pretty mixed for me.
Okay.
I think in order to understand the light, you have to touch the dark.
Yes.
And that is true of Ahsoka.
Yes.
The series, the character, this episode, all of it.
I agree. I think confronting that the Star Wars elements of the Force always requires both sides to kind of be front and center. When you shy away from that and it's just light, you can get very Christmas specially. Maude?
I think that this is obviously Dave Filoni's love letter to the Clone Wars,
Yes.
the animated series, and he's flexing big time, being able to bring it to real life. And I love the stylistic choices. I love what he's been able to do. I love how he's changed our perspective on this character, especially if you didn't watch the Clone Wars animated series, casting a younger Ahsoka in these flashbacks and just kind of really getting the gravity of how young she was when she was put in some of these incredibly dangerous and heavy situations. So I think Dave Filoni's done an amazing job. I knew he was directing episode 5, and so I had big hopes for it. It is the highest rated episode so far. Everyone's loving it, and it's been interesting to read a lot of people's opinions on this episode. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of some of the things that I've read online as well to temperature check with you.
A surrogate voice for the people, for the common folk.
Maybe I should be talking like this when I do it on behalf of the Senate.
Yes, wow.
Hologram.
Now, Kim, I saw it from you, a full head clutch as though your Ahsoka organ ears were going to fall off. What are they called? Likes?
We do this every time.
Leku? They have organs in there. Kim, what caused that reaction?
Well, when Maude brought up, and I was talking to Evan about this before everyone got here and the office was totally empty.
Yes.
But Ariana Greenblatt as young Ahsoka was so good. Her fight choreography was good. Her expression, kind of drawing homages from both Rosario and Ashley Eckstein. But what really drove me to the point of doing this was when we watched the original series. It's like, yeah, okay, she's a commander, but watching a literal child command in the Clone Wars, fight in a war is troubling.
Yeah. It was. I agree, and I think like her having a tough time understanding how Anakin could be anything other than completely serious in that moment, not understanding that like adult coping is kind of denying the brutal reality of life and then trying to impart that on children. Also, we saw Anakin as Jake Lloyd, and then before he even really trained as a Jedi at all, he was Hayden Christensen, right? Yeah. Like we never saw Jake Lloyd at 11 being trained by Obi-Wan, right? Like he was like 16-year-old.
It was 9, 19. Yeah, right. That's it.
That's exactly right. So
I think people forget that in these flashbacks, especially during the Raylon, what is it? Raylon Wars? The first flashback.
Oh, Battle of Ryloth.
Rylon. No. Ryloth.
Yeah.
Ryloth.
What, the Loth and Loth that they have in this show. Anyway.
Loth. It's like Game of Thrones. It's like George R. R. Martin naming 2 family members.
That's it.
Brandon.
Yes.
Everyone is Aegon.
Yes.
Everyone.
Just guess Aegon if you're ever playing Game of Thrones trivia. If you're playing Lord of the Rings trivia, go get on a dating app. Now,
no, I was halfway through a thought. It's the fact that Ahsoka's 14, and so when you cast a 14-year-old and you look 14, you actually feel like you register so much more. She's so young, but then Anakin's 19. There is only a 5-year difference, and that's why they have this brother-sister sibling.
Oh, right. Oh, you're saying literally, canonically, yes. Okay, got it. Yes.
Yeah, and that's why he does brush off a lot of things with humor. They've always had that relationship. And I love that we've got Snips and Sky Guy in this moment. We're seeing it. It's great.
Snips and Sky Guy. Friends, co-hosts, countrymen. Do we think that was the actual world between worlds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on.
Next.
I agree, but now let's talk about the changes, though, from the animation. They didn't necessarily look through portals into the past from this, right? She kind of fell through like a mist, through a fog to the past. So I guess translating it to live action, it's kind of cooler to have it be a more show the physicality of it. We were talking last week that Filoni has a tendency to tell and not show, right? Like and in this case, I felt like he really showed and didn't talk because there was no talk about the war between worlds and their previous time there. Now,
well said, Tommy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at this. Let me say something bad. Let me say something nasty.
No.
All right. Now, do you guys think we'll see the world between worlds again?
Perhaps not in the series, but we will see it again at some point.
I said the same thing last night. I said I think it's established now. I don't see a need to go back there for this.
It was a plot device.
Yeah.
It was a plot device that, for me, needed way more why instead of what. Yeah. Again, it's like, this is cool. I've done it before. I want to put it in this moment.
Right.
And I understand that this is acting as sort of like the rebirth of Ahsoka. You know, we're talking about the fact that she's going sort of like, she has like was baptized. Like she kind of comes out of the water again and then dons the white on. So we've got Ahsoka the White, and that's been going around. It's kind of like the Gandalf the Grey to the white. But
it's so 1-to-1.
Oh yeah, with
that. Going from literally gray to white and having the spiritual journey and awakening and becoming a transcendent being.
But usually that comes at a catalyst when you're at a crossroads or when you're like, I can't do this anymore. You know, like you have to be challenged to see if you can push through. Or you don't like the choice, but you have to make the choice to be able to walk the road. She's just in there because she fell. And it's like, did she really die? And is this like, are you worth like bringing back? That there wasn't, for me personally, enough going into it for it to serve that purpose with depth.
I wonder, I hear what you're saying.
It happened.
I wonder if she had literally witnessed Sabine kind of betray her right before that, if that would have led to a more like, all right, now she needs to have a reconciliation with who she is as a master and apprentice in that relationship.
That's even better than what we got.
Well, unfortunately, they didn't take my drafts because I'm not WGA. On strike, solidarity. All right. We discussed this in last night's video, but do you guys have any additional thoughts on who exactly Anakin was there? We had speculated before maybe a Force ghost, but it seems very clearly he wasn't.
He absolutely is a Force ghost.
In the world between worlds?
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing is kind of a limbo-like state. He could certainly be there as a spirit. I think he knows.
You think that was the spirit of Anakin Skywalker?
It was 100% a Force ghost because he references things in his life as Darth Vader.
And when they go to, he's dead, right?
Like, he does. He does it. Yeah, and it's like he's basically righting the wrongs of being Ahsoka's master. And he's kind of challenging her because there was this time where she could have killed him and she still chose not to. And I think that was the whole thing. And there was a moment where it's like, the lightsaber's there. She's got his against his throat. She could have done it. And I feel like you could see in his eyes. And it's this Palpatine moment. Strike me down and I'll become more powerful. And all she had to do was strike him down. And she's like, no, I choose to live. And that was the lesson learned. And that's what Anakin needed to do to kind of like right his wrongs in a way. But when he goes to fight her, she says, I will not fight you. And he's like, I've heard that before.
Right.
That happened with his son, Luke, when he was Darth Vader, hence he's a Force ghost.
Okay.
I rest my case, I yield my time. No, hands up, why? He's a...
So you don't think it was just like a manifestation of like her guilt or like past trauma? Like, I think the reason we bring up or I wanted to talk about whether or not it's the real world between worlds is like, she was ostensibly she's underwater. Maybe this is, she's been in the world before in Rebels.
I'll argue that. I've got a counter argument.
Okay.
Huh?
Jason can hear the battle happening because he's Force sensitive, which means it is the world between worlds because it is a Jedi place.
Okay.
And you have to wield the Force to be able to interact or to understand it. Next question.
He seemed to have more agency and being able to think and understand and process, as opposed to being a reflection in Ahsoka's memory or some kind of abstract representation. So at least his free will or just his himself was in that being. It wasn't an idea.
Right. I agree. I don't know. I guess last night I'm glad to have these additional thoughts because last night in my, let's just say, fatigued state, I was like, no, she's just imagining him. But speaking of him, Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that the last time we get him as Anakin?
No.
No. Well, when do we see him
done.
again? No. Okay. Good. I don't think so.
This
either.
story, I mean, part of the problem I've been having with this is that it feels like it's ramping up to something else.
Yeah.
Rather than telling me what I want to be
Right.
the story I want from Ahsoka. And I think we will certainly see him again. They're doing a Hayden Renaissance.
Yes,
almost,
it is.
Through the various Filoni verses.
I would be okay if this was it.
Uh-huh.
I think this was like a really good cherry on the cake in this moment. I also don't think this is an Anakin redemption. Please do not be mistaken by that. I think that this is a Hayden Christensen redemption.
Yes.
I think we finally got to see this guy with Dave Filoni's words and direction without sort of like what he had to deal with in the prequels. And he also had a whole other property of Matt Lanter's beautiful representation of Anakin in those eras. And so he kind of adopted both. And he was able to be the best version of this character that we've seen.
Yeah.
And I think that Hayden deserved that. And it was a really cool Hayden redemption.
Did a great
We've
job.
got
He did a great job.
We've got the Hayden-essence. I refer to myself as a born-again Christensen.
I like that. That's clever. Can I say what? Oh, we got a question.
Yeah, Chris Andro asking, or more of a statement, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. But my question is, what exactly was Anakin's lesson to Ahsoka? To live, not die? Good tips, guy.
He killed himself for the sake of power. Anakin died so that Darth Vader could take power. And I don't think, I mean, he obviously regrets that. If he is a Force ghost, he's lived his entire life. And he's like, I made that choice to die.
Right.
And so she made the choice to live.
Right.
But I also think it was a really cool thing in there where she is the best part of his teaching, which was from Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Yoda. You see all of those things, but he saw, the quick path to power and he took it fast. Yes, it was to save his wife, but like for all the good that did. And so I think that sort of lineage was really, really good. I already forget the question. I've just ranted. I do have one more thing I want to bring up in that moment though. Some of the best Star Wars I've seen was when he was walking down
Yes.
That shot.
and he flickers into Vader. And like you hear the respiratory breathing, and that was some of the best television we got to witness.
That's one of the best shots, I think, in Star
And
Wars. to be honest.
we had to bring it up because it was so good. Like I gasped. Like that was
The
just
sound mix in that was brilliant because they did the breathing first and he walked out as Anakin.
yeah.
And then flick. So it was like, well, wait.
I got
why are they
goosebumps
doing-
talking about it again.
Yes.
Like it was so well done. It was so
I
good. That
agree.
was so brilliant. And I also want to acknowledge Hayden absolutely bringing it in the choreography. You see the change that he makes.
He did the thing.
As Anakin.
Yes.
And then his fighting stance when he's got the red saber.
Yes.
The power hits that he does. But like, it's so, it was so well done.
He was fabulous in this episode, I in my opinion, as well. One of the things I thought when discussing choosing to live, it was similar to what you're saying, Maude. Living meant choosing to continue the fight rather than quitting, leaving the Jedi completely and leaving the fight completely. So the living and dying wasn't necessarily a literal breathing or ceasing to live. It was are you going to continue trying to make sure that Thrawn and the other, whatever, the forces of evil in the galaxy or whatever you think are going to continue. Are you going to try and stop them, or are you going to go hide out? Because
I think that's a really great point, because she's known for the one who left.
Right.
She walked away. She quit. And what we've seen in this show is that she never really did quit.
No.
She just allowed herself to have, I guess, more flexibilities. She didn't have to subscribe to the Jedi Order, which was becoming more and more corrupt at that particular stage.
It's the only way to be, because look, the Jedi Order, it's a really messed up religion. No. Okay, they're not perfect. They're not always the good guys. They do a lot of terrible things as well. And I think finding the place of being a good warrior, a good person, is ultimately where she belongs. The way I read the scene, where what Anakin's point was to her was to show her that she's not him. You are not dead. You are not me. Kind of reading in there. You're yourself, and you don't have to do what I did, and you don't have to follow the path that I went down, and your fate is not written that way. You're still in charge. There is hope for you yet.
Even though she looks old.
She does not look old.
You wash your mouth out, Hayden.
She looks great, and she did not have de-aging software on her side
right.
like he did.
I love that you just adopted the Ahsoka pose, because I do really want to start. Drink responsibly if you're older than 21, but please can we start drinking every single time Ahsoka starts a conversation?
Yes.
Folding her arms.
Yes.
As soon as she saw Anakin, she adopted that pose, and now I can't unsee it. So if it's going to bother me for the rest of this show, then it may as well bother you, and we may as well get drunk doing it.
That's right.
Good.
Remain unbothered through the healing power of whiskey.
Well, everyone's racing to rescue Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. Let's check this out.
One of these days.
Check it out. Got those Purgle tentacles.
This is the end of Rebels.
Yes.
So we got those stormtroopers that he's trying to shut out. Thrawn's entangled.
Oh, they're getting ready. The whales are getting ready to take this destroyer to hyperspace, right?
Town.
Look at the tentacles flowing with the Force, or the hyperspace, whatever, the hyperdrive.
Ezra's very gifted with animals.
Yes.
Yes. Purgle power.
Purgle power.
But like, look at
Damn.
that kind of effort. He can't maintain that for very long.
No.
So when we last saw the two of them jumping to hyperspace with the Purgle, they did. They left with part of Thrawn's fleet, though. So while this is all happening, we saw him kind of using the Force to hold it. You can't do that forever.
No.
So who is out there with them? It's not just Thrawn and Ezra having a cup of tea here. The stormtroopers are on the vessel. There could be an entire fleet there. So what have they been doing this whole time? Discuss.
Well, I wonder, because to me, they had to immediately find a planet with oxygen, breathable oxygen, right? Because that window is open. So either like he released, or he like releases Thrawn or whatever, or releases his hold, then goes back in that room with the stormtroopers. Is like, guys, I don't know where we are. We got to work together. Maybe he does the Jedi mind trick.
A mass kind of like
perhaps
mind wipe persuasion.
I have a theory that maybe Ezra has kind of lost his faith in certain terms, to say that he needs Sabine and he needs Ahsoka in more ways than just get me out of here.
Right.
It's been a long time. He's been alone. Well, alone, kind of just with his enemy.
Right.
And I don't see him as coming back as a perfect hero per se.
No, I agree.
This is going to be really interesting, because Thrawn's biggest weapon is his brain. He's a mastermind. And so Ezra would have had the upper hand if it was a battle of strength and sort of like using the powers. But with all the stormtroopers there and having a one-on-one time where all you have to do is all you can do is talk, really. You're exactly right. This is a mastermind that will rewire the way that Ezra thinks. He's going to rewire his manipulation, who to fight for, what's worth fighting for. He's going to break down everything and then restructure him in a way that fits and suits Thrawn, which is actually kind of what I think's happened to Baylan Skoll a little bit. It's like he just believes that he's the best person for the job. He's not Team Sith. He's Team Thrawn. And he thinks that Thrawn is the best person to kind of like seize power to rebuild the galaxy because he is that brilliant. So you're exactly right. I think the longer you spent with Thrawn,
the more you can bend to his way of thinking, which is very powerful.
And I could see with Thrawn's genius, I think kind of in concert with what you're saying, Thrawn can manipulate by pretending to soften too. Like, hey, I'm stranded just like you. There's no point. There is no good and evil right now. There's us surviving. So, and perhaps bonding with him, mentoring him, even though he's lying. And the way Palpatine mentored Anakin, posing as a galactic senator and not a Republic senator, not an evil Sith Lord, teaching him the lessons of evil through pretending as though they were benevolent acts when they're actually,
super orchestrated.
And he was just basically puppet mastering him. Evan's got a question in the back. We have to.
KP Dubs asking,
Hi, KP Dubs.
The Force binds the galaxy together. Does this other galaxy that they're in have the Force?
I think it's just a free-for-all. Everybody just floats around.
The Force is in us. The Force is everywhere. The Force is in all. So I think no matter where they go, there will be Force there. That's a good question, though. Because like, how far away we're talking here?
Right.
Yeah, and to that, people in the chat are like talking about what if time like dilation is different out there. Like, what if it's only been like 20 minutes?
Oh,
what
Interstellar.
If they're still young?
Yeah.
Nolan science.
That's cool. That's a really cool
that.
thought. Yeah, okay. I like that. Well, I mean, the Purgles are probably millions of years old, aren't they? But they just keep zipping through hyperspace, so the time doesn't affect them in the same way. There's a question here which I'm so excited to get to because I've got a theory.
All right.
Has Ezra built a new lightsaber? Because Sabine has his green lightsaber.
How would he build it?
Well, I mean, he doesn't have Hu Yang, who knows how to build them, because he was actually at the Jedi Temple with the younglings building.
What if his is still? Oh, I don't want to say his case. It seems very.
I think. Should we say on 3 what we think Ezra's lightsaber color would be?
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Orange.
It 100% is going to be orange.
Yes. Yes. I think orange represents the new color.
Orange? Do it.
I think orange represents the new color of people who don't subscribe to light, dark absolutism, like this, the Jedi deal in absolutes. The Sith only deal in absolutes. No, the Jedi also deal in absolutes.
100%.
Everybody that subscribes to the Force as a religion, like religion, kind of a parallel to religion in real world often, it's all about absolutes. There is no room for nuance. There's no room for the feelings or for, having softer beliefs in things, or just there's no casuals, right? There's no room for casuals. You got to be a hardcore believer.
That's why Ahsoka's blades are white,
right?
And we've also got Mandalorian, that theirs is represented by like the dark saber, which is like just sort of like empty matter, almost black. You could say black, but it's like empty matter. I think I'm gonna get corrected in the chat for that one, so keep your heads up.
Can't wait.
I forget it.
We're very excited for whatever Gen Xer right now is frantically typing in. That's right. I'm going after Gen X. The boomers have had their day of being our punching bags. Now it's Gen X. You guys are getting in your 50s.
But I think Baylan Skoll's saber is orange. It's a little bit leaning more towards red.
Right.
But I would actually really like to see, instead of like you select a kyber crystal and that's how you decide a color, the blade kind of reflects. It's like a mood crystal.
Right. But save that for Disneyland. You can pick the colors of your blade in Disneyland. But for the show, let's let it be a mood ring.
I think it's like, it should flicker. And I think there was a beautiful moment with the Anakin Force Ghost fight where he started off with his original and then he moved into red because
it reflects his conflictedness.
That's it, yeah. And his eyes go more red the more he's like leaning into the Sith power.
Did you notice Ahsoka's eyes went red just for a second?
A second.
Wow, I did not notice that. God.
So the question that's been bothering me a little bit is that Morgan Elspeth is the mastermind behind everything happening. She's on Operation Save and Rescue Thrawn, but how is she communicating with Thrawn? How is that even something that's happening? Is Thrawn contacting Morgan through Ezra?
You would say he's a communication bridger?
That's good. That's good. You gotta credit's where credit's due, and your credits are good here.
No, I think by nature.
Still smug.
Okay, we're still doing this.
Kim, you'll learn just how annoying I am throughout this
I
episode.
don't quite get the energy of the show yet, but I will.
No, you know what? There are people who have been doing it for a year that don't get it. So
Lean
don't.
into chaos. Just a little bit.
The energy of this show is basically dependent on how much sleep I get tonight.
It really is. You
Yeah.
roll the dice with Tommy when I do these. Like,
mercurial.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Courtney Love in the 90s. Some nights I get a full night of sleep and you get a great Hole concert. Other nights I hang out with that guy who's like the pickup artist,
And your nose is bleeding.
you just get a hole with a nosebleed. Yeah.
yeah. So, what do you think about the question that I posed?
I completely forgot it.
I think
Great.
it's-
Let's let Kim talk.
Yeah.
She'll have great thoughts.
Great.
I believe it has something to do with her nature as a night sister. I think a lot of it is unexplained. I am very fascinated and interested by Night Sisters. I'm still playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Marin's my favorite character. I want to know everything about her, and it's just not out there yet. So if they want to put more niblets of Night Sister information out there, I will eat them all up.
Agreed.
Because I'm ready for that. But I think it's somehow related to something we don't know by
Okay.
that.
Well, your answer perfectly leads us into this follow-up. Is Night Sister magic more powerful than the Force?
It can be. Did we not see Marok?
Terrifying, right? Yeah.
She can build an army of gas fart. Like,
Yes.
that's so impressive.
A fart army?
Which
Last time we
farts?
saw that was in the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
There's a gas army.
Yes, and
That's a lot of
kind of
farts.
Thanos' army turned into reverse farts when Iron Man snapped them all.
That's true.
They all farted away.
They did.
The universe farted them all away. Wow, that is a riot. You can't fast forward that fast. I'm still doing the plug. I know you don't
I
want.
was gonna skip it. Okay.
No, we're not skipping it. Look at these shirts.
Now you've made him run.
Our spokesmodel Evan will be walking by with a Star Wars shirt. Evan, get on cam. Evan, get on cam.
He got a
Evan,
haircut today.
Get on cam. Get on cam. Show him
Your
your new
camera
haircut.
ready.
Show him your new
Look
haircut.
at his beautiful face.
Come
You've
on.
got to pop.
And look at this. Isn't he lovely?
Sure is.
Great.
Folks, bookended by these Ahsoka shirts and the Vader and Ahsoka shirt, and this is, I believe, a Sabine shirt. We've got our wonderful Star Wars sports style shirt collection. We've got the ringer tee for you football fans. We've got baseball tees. We've got classic T-shirts for
Oh, we
those
got the
that.
same one.
No, mine is Sabine.
Oh,
Yours
Sabine.
is Snips and Sky Guy.
This is literally the episode that we just watched. How cool is that?
Guys, these shirts
This
are.
was from crying at how beautiful it was.
I really love these our Ahsoka shirts, and the sports shirts are so comfortable and they're fun. And I'll be honest, I get a lot of compliments when I wear them out. I was at the grocery store the other day, and someone went YouTube guy, which, by the way, more often than not, when people recognize me from this channel, they have no clue who I am. They just go YouTube guy. Maybe I'm Smosh. Anyway. Go to nerdriot.shop, check out our merch, support the new Rockstars Network. When you buy one of these shirts, you take a few dollars out of Disney's greedy hands and you put them in the hands of new Rockstars' greedy hands, because I don't get paid for this. All right, now, any chat questions, Evan?
The gamer MJ saying, "Will we see a flashback to Kanan, or is the photo on the dashboard all we're gonna get?"
And he was name dropped.
We
too.
finally got a name though. We hadn't
Yes.
had that earlier. I was a little bit miffed. I believe it was like in the 3rd episode where it's like Jason just appeared, and it's
Yeah.
like, yes, we lost a lot of people
Yeah.
lately, and you're like, just say the dad's name. Like he had a huge part in Rebels as a show.
And I would say, at least half a part in Jason, right?
that's how
Okay.
I don't know how Twi'leks mate. Maybe it's mental, like Coneheads, where they just touch heads.
Well, you have a child, and he has green hair, and that's how you know
And
he's
that-
half.
Twi'lek.
It solves all questions.
Twi'lek.
I'm not scratching my head over this. I'm not gonna.
I'll be honest, guys. I still don't get it. But I don't know how humans are made either.
But what was really cool is that his legacy was actually said.
Yes.
He is now an actual live-action
Yes.
character because his name has been mentioned.
And that
I
photo,
think that was a win.
that photo did look a lot like Freddie Prinze Jr., right?
Uh,
It did. The photo on the dash. Once zoomed in, and
I didn't zoom in enough.
I didn't zoom in
someone
enough.
else did the work for us, and I believe it does look pretty clearly like
I'll look it up.
like a FPJ. All right. Next, we want to talk about Ahsoka the White.
Yes.
Yes.
This is 100% happening, and it's all because of wardrobe.
Yes.
She's wearing white.
Mhm.
That's how
But
you know.
she was wearing gray.
Yes,
But
that's
then
it.
things changed.
Yeah, just like Lord of the Rings, there was a rebirth that happened, and now hopefully Ahsoka will be more powerful
Right.
and unstoppable as Ahsoka the
And,
White.
and I think more open to the mysteries of the world as Gandalf the White came back and was less as dialed in about his like obsession with Middle Earth and the hobbits, and more able to see the entire
Well,
the
she
world.
kind of did a bit of what will be, where it's like we're in the mouth of a Purgle.
Right.
Where are we going?
Cool.
She's like, don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Oh yeah, Filoni has mentioned that Tolkien is a huge influence on him,
Yeah.
right?
I think I read that, yes, this is directly inspired by Gandalf.
And I mean,
It's clear.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to bring it into the Star Wars universe by it being her becoming the daughter.
Yes.
With this triad
Yes.
sort of thing coming along where, was it Murgle? No, that's a Purgle.
Mortis.
Mortis.
Yeah.
Mortis's story about the three that represent all facets of the Force.
Yes.
You've got the father, the daughter, and the son.
Right.
The son went to the dark side.
Right.
The daughter went to the light, and the father was sort of like the balance of all of it. And
I-
she's kind of stepped up
Yeah.
spiritually.
Yeah.
Who do you
daughter.
see as the other two?
That's the thing, we don't know yet.
Well, I've adjusted my theory from thinking that this show was to answer those questions. I now wonder if the Filoni movie
It's absolutely
is
the
going to
movie.
be about that. Yeah.
That's what drives me wild about
Yeah.
the show,
Yeah.
is that it's leading into the movie and it's
Right.
not doing the thing
Yeah.
that we expect and
Right.
hope and desire it to do. And instead we get reaction shots of Chopper for no reason
Yeah.
going, ruh-roh, and then just cutting away.
He is the Scooby-Doo of the show.
He says,
Oh,
ruh-roh.
that's so good. That's so good.
And
Yes.
usually when you talk to Chopper,
Mhm.
you get some kind of, so the person talking to him gives you some kind of information or
Yes.
something kind of funny and anecdotal.
Right.
There was nothing more to that. It was just ruh-roh.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Chopper, you're on blast. You're on the chopping block.
Yeah, for
Nice.
those more crimes too.
For murder. You're being investigated. We're reopening. It's like Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood. We're reopening the case a decade later. Now, any prior moments that you have wanted to see live action or have relived? We got the Siege of Mandalore last night.
Dude, that was
exciting.
cool. I was waiting for a little bit of Maul there.
Yes.
Maul was there. And that was
Yes.
a huge fight and showdown that Ahsoka had
Wouldn't
with
that be
Maul.
fun?
Well, they had the Maul sort of like troopers.
Yeah, they had the horned Mandalorians.
The
The Mandalorians. Yes,
Yeah, we're
Maud,
okay
we're
with
so.
that.
This is the most on the same page we've
It
ever
really
been.
is.
5%.
Thank you. I think it's Kim, honestly. Thank
Yes.
you so
I'm
much.
not
Kim-
a fan of puns.
Kim, you are the
not?
force that binds us.
no.
You're the scum. Kim is the father. I am the daughter.
I'll be the son.
Maud is the son.
All right, let's do this.
What?
It
Kim,
makes
just go with it.
absolute
It's
sense.
fine. Don't worry about it. They'll fix it in editing. They'll just dub my voiceover with
They
AI.
also had the stormtroopers that were following Ahsoka,
Yes.
which we've only ever seen in the Clone Wars animated series.
Yes, the
So
clone
to see it
troopers, and we
brought
got
to life.
Rex's voice.
We had Rex in there. He had his double blasters. He
Yeah.
was ready for round 2. And you kind of see, again, that relationship that Ahsoka had with her. I thought it was great to be able to see that in live action. But all the other things that we want to see made into live action, there is so much to go through.
Right.
And I think that they hit 2 certain points, and I think it was interesting in the second one where Anakin's like, I don't even know what this is. She was like, yeah, you're gone by then.
Do you think that we'll get kind of the way HBO or whatever or Max is giving Harry Potter the Game of Thrones treatment, where they're turning the books into a show? Do you think we'll ever get the animated, like a Clone Wars live action show? Not necessarily retelling the animated episodes, but perhaps reframing the POV of those episodes. Do you think that anything like that will ever happen?
I
Or
think this is what it is.
yeah,
I
okay.
think this is it.
I think that would be a mistake. This is as far as we need to go. Maybe another scene like this, but not a full-blown series.
I mean, these companies can't help themselves, Kim. I agree with you. I just don't know sometimes if they're like, where do we go next? A lot of times it feels like they go back to
Hi,
like,
Red
what do
Public.
people like? Yes. Well,
They are trying to move into
They
the higher
do
public.
it more.
Yeah.
Invest in it.
and what do you guys think? Another season of Ahsoka? Did this last episode buy us a season 2, or do we still need more credits?
I think it's a one and done.
Yeah.
I think it's all about the movie. The movie is everything.
Yeah.
This is build up to the movie,
Yeah.
and it exhausts me.
Ah.
I loved this episode,
Yes.
but the pace has been exhausting.
Yeah. It has certainly been.
We've not seen Thrawn or Ezra.
I
and
know.
They've been mentioned almost every episode.
I know.
And we didn't get Zeb in this one.
It's crazy that we have not. I honestly think The Thrawn and Ezra thing doesn't surprise me. Moff Gideon in season 1 has set the tone for the big bad, often only being, in an episode or an episode and a fourth, like the end of the penultimate episode, and then in the final episode. True. But I really Zeb not appearing yet, and after being established,
they built the model,
and he's in the last season
Why
of
is he Mandalorian.
Like, why is he in that show?
Get Zeb?
Is it like the backlash?
Like the Ghost Crew don't get Zeb.
They have him. They've made him already.
And he's friends with Carson Diva, who was in this episode.
Yeah.
Why'd they kill a Rodian? They could have killed Zeb.
You take that back.
I Zebbed it. I ship it.
Unzeb it.
I ship it.
Unzeb it.
That's sus, yo. You're a simp. Let's riz up Zeb. Zeb needs to be rizzed up next episode by the Drip King.
Stop.
Oh, stop. Nobody likes it, Kim. But they took my health insurance away.
Predictions of the movie. Thrawn must be the big bad of Filoni's movie, right?
Thank you, Ma, for getting us back on the choo-choo.
My back is hurting carrying this.
Kim, you seem to have.
Poor Kim. We need to formally apologize to Kim.
I don't. I think this is called a baptism by fire. Like. We want Kim in more episodes, but Kim has to understand that in order to be in more episodes, you must simply tolerate what's known as
the Tommy effect.
A little bit of hell on earth for 45 minutes. Now, Kim, you seem, I think, the most dialed in on the movie. So, do you think Thrawn is the big bad of Filoni's movie, or do you have another vision?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's absolutely him.
All right.
All this build-up, and we're on episode 5 now, and we still haven't even seen him.
I know.
He's absolutely the focal point of the movie.
What if Thrawn is Zeb? I know they can't. I know they're two different people, guys. At this point, I'm just trying to get Nerdrotic to make a video about me. All right, go ahead. I think Thrawn and Zeb should be in a relationship. Stream about that for 6 hours. All right, great. Sorry, shots fired.
Bring it out.
Don't cut it. Leave it in. They need to know.
We're cutting that.
Kim, I got to tell you something.
That's it for us today.
No, wait, Mon, I have to tell Kim something. So,
yes.
Okay, so at the end of the episode, there's a line. And I think it's "We have spoken," and we all try to say it at the same time. And it's okay if you don't say it at the same time, but we all say it out loud. So when it gets to that part,
like Queel?
Guys, don't pay attention. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We go, "We have spoken."
Okay. Yeah.
Guys, I said don't listen. Okay, ready? Let's go back in. 1, 2, 3. Mon, take us out.
That's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube. And give us a follow on Twitch where we do these videos live. And trust me when I say you want to see. You want to see these live.
She tricked us both, to be fair. Why did you do that?
Welcome to the dark side.
Oh my God.
And trust me when I say
we have spoken.